Associated Press, Lita Baldor.
Thank you, Pat. It's been 3 days since the strikes on Iraq and Syria. Can you at least give us some general assessment as to whether there were indications that there were enemy combatants at those sites that could have been killed or injured? I mean, there's got to be at least some sort of initial assessment that says there were people at those places or there weren't. And then just secondarily, I think Jake Sullivan yesterday talked about seen and unseen U.S. military responses to the U.S. responses to these ongoing attacks. Can you say whether or not any of the unseen responses have already occurred?
Thanks, Lita. On your first question, I don't want to get ahead of Central Command's assessment. I think it is fair to conclude that there likely were casualties associated with these strikes. But to ensure that we're providing accurate information, we need to allow time for Central Command to continue to conduct its assessment. And certainly we'll keep you updated as we have new information to provide on that front. As it relates to actions that we're taking, again, I'm not going to have anything to provide for you beyond what we've put out in our statements.
And then were any of these attempts to get HVTs in any of those locations that you think may or may not have been successful?
Lita, what I would tell you is that what we've put out in our press releases is what I have to provide on that front. Jen.
Pat, there have been 3 attacks by Iranian proxy forces in Syria since Friday. You say that the assessment is that the strikes on Friday night had good effects. How can you say that when there's 3 more attacks? What will the response be? And are the troops at those bases, those outposts, allowed to leave the base and to pursue those who are firing rockets and drones at the bases?
Yeah, so a couple of things, Jennifer. So first of all, on your last comment, our forces will always maintain the inherent right of self-defense. So if they need to take appropriate actions to defend themselves, they will, and you've seen us do that in the past. In terms of attacks in Iraq and Syria since we took these strikes on Friday, I'm actually only tracking 2 incidents. There was one attack on Saturday, February the 3rd. That was 2 rockets that were fired at MSS Euphrates in Syria with no injuries or damage reported. And then I'm aware of one yesterday, February 4th. This was a one-way attack drone that landed several kilometers from MSS Green Village, also in Syria. Again, no reported U.S. injuries or damage to those facilities. Again, the strikes that we took on Friday were in response, as I highlighted in my topper, to the attacks on U.S. forces at Jordan. And again, we'll take necessary action to defend our forces.
But Pat, I believe that there was a 3rd strike that killed 6 SDF Kurdish fighters.
I think the one you're referring to is the latter one that I highlighted. And I am aware of those reports of Syria Democratic Forces killed in that strike. But I'd have to refer you to them to talk about that.
It was not on a base where U.S. forces were.
It was in the vicinity of Green Village.